So is Illinois different in any way from the last time you played them? Obviously, they'll have a different roster coming into the game, for one thing.
Yeah, they obviously just the experiences they've had. They had to play a couple games, without Kofi. Corbello comes back, our game. I think he misses a couple other games since then. But no, they've had a lot of change throughout the year too, and so they've done a great job of just rolling with the punches and playing the guys that they have. And obviously, they have a full roster now, but they're a dangerous team. Obviously, Kofi Coburn's a really tough matchup, but Frazier, Corbello are dynamic guards, guys that can shoot on the move, can light up a scoreboard, get 30 on a given night. Grandison's a guy that is a very good post passer, very good shooter. Williams is a tough, experienced, just makes winning plays. Good passer, good defender, can make open threes. And they got a good bench. I mean, they had guys come in the game against us that barely played or didn't play in the previous games, play significant minutes and do a really good job. So they have a deep team, they have an experienced team, talented team. It's going to be a tough matchup.
The last two games, they defended the three-point line pretty well. Like Wisconsin and Indiana, 6 of 37 or something like that. What have you seen from that? How they're taking care of that?
Yeah, but that's how they've always played. They've always really guarded the line very hard, and they really tried to encourage those tough twos. They want to bait you into taking tough twos, and you got to take some of them. But it just depends on who you are, and it depends on what the clock is. You can't take a lot of them. I think the game before we played them the last time, the team that they played, I forget who it was 9 for 30 on their twos. And so, you're going to make some of those, but at the end of the day, you took 30 shots and got 18 points, and that's not what you want offensively. And we've learned that hard lesson against them. They've forced us in to tough twos that we don't want to get to. Like I said earlier, especially when the clock is, at that magic 15, it just seems like 15, 16, 17 seconds. That's not your shot. You got to get a layup. You got to make the big guy stop you. You got to use your dribble through, whatever it might be. It's not rocket science in terms of how to go about it. It's kind of easy, but it's hard to do. And so it's like, hey, it's easy from my standpoint as a coach. You got to be able to drill it, but you got to have the discipline to be able to do it. And not a lot of people do. They get in those situations and they feel comfortable shooting that 12 to 15 foot floater or contested pull up. And that's what a lot of people do because analytically it makes sense to do that. Stop layups, don't let people have rhythm threes and keep them off the free throw line. And then you're going to have a pretty solid defense. So they've done a good job with that philosophy, and they just keep getting better and better at it.
You feel like you're better equipped to handle?
We're better than we were a couple years ago, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And but it's situational. So you got to get into the open court some, you got to get space some. When you don't, you got to share the basketball and move the basketball, and then go to the next action. You don't always have to hit it every single time something comes about. So a ball screen happens, and you run it. If it's not there and that clock's not low, just move the basketball and get to the next action. That discipline's so important.
Mm-hmm. Just in that first meeting with Illinois, how much of a challenge was it when you prepare to play Kofi and then he doesn't play as much and then you have to adjust on the fly? Was that kind of a in-game sort of landmine?
Yeah, but they have other good players. Mm-hmm. And so we're preparing for everybody on their team.
Systematically, though, for they're a little different.
Yeah, if you don't guard their speed cuts and their dribble handoffs and their ball screens, if you're not into the basketball and those guys get separation, they're going to make you pay. They're going to make you pay. If you want them to catch and shoot or dribble into shots and have rhythm, they're going to make 40% of them. Both of those guards are dynamic. Like I said, Grandison, missed a couple open ones against us. He's not going to miss those. You just can't let them get the ones that are clean. You just got to make it as hard as you can on them. They're going to make some of them, but you just can't break down and give him so much attention that those guys are getting clean looks at the basket. You got to have a balance to where you're getting them out of rhythm, but you're also trying to fight him and get him out a little bit. And when you let him catch the ball deep right in the middle, a lot of times it's the play's over at that point. And hopefully our size can help with that. And I know they feel the same way against us because they obviously have good size too.
The three-point line can be a little bit of a pressure point for your defense because you play so big and you're so lane-oriented.
Correct.
Where are you right now, you feel like, in terms of where you want to be in terms of taking away the some of the clean looks?
Yeah, well, I think we're all right. Each team runs different stuff, and they also run similar things. I think the quickness of those two guards and how dynamic they are causes a lot of problems. Obviously, Kofi's overall size and productivity, he's really gotten better, each year. But other night, like the threes that like Hunter hit, one was in transition, one was on a ball screen we went under, and Zach's just so prone to stopping the ball. He's been drilled to stop the basketball, so that's hard. We got to give him a little bit of help with the other guys. We scissored and took it away a couple times after he hit a couple. We were supposed to bluff a couple times and get him out of rhythm, which we didn't, to help him. So it's really the details of what you do, and you got to be consistent with the details. Obviously, we defend things differently at times, and you got to know what you're doing. A lot of times when we stay connected and do what we're supposed to, we're pretty sound. And then when guys break down, that's where it gets a little sticky and difficult for us. But that's the way it is for everybody also.
You'd mentioned tough twos before. Sasha's done a good job getting to the basket here the last couple of games. Is that something that reflects how he's being guarded? Just opportunities popping up, or?
Yeah, we ran a couple things, and they went back early on a handoff, and he just attacked and made some good plays. And one of the other layups was just a good cut off of Trayvion's post up. No, just running regular stuff. Sometimes the same play will get him a drag out three, or he throws it back to the guy raising. So it's just the read on how they're defending things.
Coach, you talked about just Illinois' depth already, but just having that experience yourselves going against some of that depth with Kofi, being in foul trouble in your previous matchup, just how does that kind of help you guys in terms of the preparation for this next matchup?
Yeah, I think it helps us, but it's it's the same for both teams.
Right.
They have the same preparation of going against us. We felt like we could have been more efficient against them. We had some looks at the basket, especially from our big guys that we thought, that normally go down, and we got to be more efficient. Also, they obviously didn't get a good whistle, with Kofi, and so like it just happens. You watch the Illinois-Indiana game, and he really dominated. And found his way and got into a rhythm in the game. In our game, he didn't get into a rhythm, and we've seen that with our own guys. That's hard for big guys. That's a real hard thing when you get some calls that go against you. But no, it's just understanding what they're running, what they're trying to do, and making it hard on them. Just anytime you go against great players, just make them earn it. But if they're going to get dunks and layups and you're going to constantly send him to the free throw line, then he's going to have a great night like he did the other night when he had 37.
You touched on it after the game on Saturday, but just the balance. You have all these games in a short period of time, and you're trying to practice and work on things. And how do you now that this week is here, how do you manage this and keep them off their feet and try to keep them as fresh, but also making sure that they're mentally ready to play?
Right. Obviously, we have a late game tomorrow, so we probably practiced 45 minutes yesterday in terms of going. We'll go a little bit longer today. We'll go about an hour and 15 minutes in terms of just going through their stuff and getting yourself ready, and just having that balance of not going very long but being efficient in practice and trying to get a lot of work in. I think it helps when you're in this position. You've already played somebody once, because you feel like there's a lot of refresher there. But we're having breakdowns. There's no question about that. Like we're having some breakdowns during the game, and no matter who we're playing or how many practices, you just try your best to clean it up.
Right, but the fact that you have a veteran group, does that help kind of manage this kind of situation? Or
I hope so. Ask me at the end of the week. Yeah, you would think that would help, but like you're also playing people that are pretty experienced too. Yeah.
Coach, you've constantly talked about just the strides Zach has made, going back from last year to this year. When you went back and watched the game against Michigan, just playing against a guy like Hunter Dickinson who can kind of stretch the floor a little bit, just what kind of pops up in terms of some of the things he still needs to improve on, I guess, on the defensive end?
His, those threes weren't all his,
right.
And he is always going to stop the basketball because he's been drilled to do that.
Right.
And sometimes he over-helps with it, which at 90% of the time you're fine with in that situation. Sometimes you're not. One was a transition three that he just ran to the middle of the lane instead of running to his defensive line. But no, he didn't get off to a great start, right away. He got bottled up. He had the one layup that he missed, then he tipped it back in and got a goaltending. But then he had the plays before that didn't go for him. But he just has to collect himself, whether he goes over his left shoulder or his right shoulder, but also play with a little bit of, have a little explosion when he goes the other way. You saw the offensive foul that he got. So the first offensive foul he's gotten in a while, but he still was going strong right there. Like I can live with that. I can live with him going strong. No matter which way he goes, when he goes strong, right there, he's normally pretty effective.